All right, everybody, we are back with an impromptu tonight episode of the Casual GM podcast. I am your host, Drew, and of course, I am joined by my co-host, Mike. Mike, how are you?
Just as handsome as ever. Just as handsome as ever. Can't help it.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Mike, since you and I last spoke on Tuesday, there have been several things, important things that have happened for the Detroit Lions. Mainly that about 90 minutes after we logged off our podcast, the first episode of Hard Knocks aired on HBO Max. I've watched the episode. You have watched the episode, right? You got HBO special just to watch it, right?
I got it like 2 days before the episode.
Gotcha.
Yep.
I'm a big fan of HBO Max, to be honest. So I'm pretty thrilled with it. And so I've never watched a Hard Knocks season before.
Okay.
So I really didn't know what to expect. And I had heard some of what was going to be in the episode, largely Aiden Hutchinson getting up in front of the team, singing Billie Jean.
Yeah.
Now, I have sung in front of people exactly one time with alcohol, not knowing I was going to do it beforehand.
Yeah.
And number four, succumbing to peer pressure in order to do it. So I don't sing. This is largely my singing voice as it is right now. So pretty joyful. However, Aiden gets up there and he goes, "Hi, my name is Aiden Hutchinson," something like number 2 pick in the draft. And then he announces his signing bonus.
Which, Rodriguez did the same. I'm assuming that's just part of the inauguration.
I don't know if that was what was going on. And then Rodriguez just followed suit.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, okay. We're letting everyone know. Okay, interesting. Not that it's hard to find out. I mean, if you really wanted to. But he then proceeds to sing Billie Jean from memory without the song playing in the background, which was shocking to me. I was unaware that people could sing without the accompanying music. So
he was a one-person a cappella performance.
Yeah. And he messed up.
And you know what, though? That was which was hilarious because the entire team started booing and rousing him. Yeah. But he's like up there doing this. It has to be out of his comfort zone, right? I mean, a big 6'5" white guy, football player, badass. I mean, that's just not something that he probably does for fun. So, but he gets up there, he messes up, takes a lot of crap from the guys, and centers himself and starts it up again, and he killed it.
He killed it. And so I have a real problem with either myself or other people going through public embarrassment. My skin crawls. I hate it.
Yeah.
So when The Office was on air and Steve Carell was doing his thing, that was cringeworthy to me. It was funny, but it was also it also made my skin crawl.
Yeah.
But as I'm watching him do his second rendition and the team is getting behind him, and then there's a second where the whole amphitheater there is just rocking out with him, going up and down.
Yep.
That was a really, really cool scene. I really enjoyed it. I was just kind of bopping my head along to it. And I've always kind of downplayed things like intangibles, team chemistry, when it comes to being able to be quantified to produce wins.
Right.
But it is really nice to see that that group of people, came together and just that one small moment to have, that kind of fun. That was cool. That made me really stoked. So
yeah, if there's ever a way that you can buy, quote unquote, buy the love and adoration and kinship of teammates, it's getting up there and doing that kind of thing. And if that's a thing that can happen, man, he bought that whole room.
Yeah.
Everybody bought in. He is I'm part of you guys. Everybody's, singing and dancing and, shouting along with them. And I mean, he doesn't have a good singing voice.
He does not.
Just the whole performance was pretty awesome. That was my favorite part of the episode as well. And then I don't know about you, but for me, the second best part, it was great, like getting to know some of the coaches because they're all players, right? And it's very different than many teams that don't have a lot of ex-players. So it's cool getting to know that. But I really enjoyed the banter, the hardcore banter between Aaron Glenn and Deuce Staley. And it was like, if you didn't know they were best friends, you would think there's going to be fist fights because they were going at it hard. And I love that because that's me. Like I talk crap with my friends all the time about stuff in those kind of situations. So I'm like, I get that. And that was a ton of fun to watch.
I did like that. When I was playing sports in high school, not good enough to play in college, but when I was playing sports in high school, I always was in the Aaron Glenn role between those two people. Like I never initiated trash talk. Like I was always the kid who was less talented, had to work harder.
Yeah.
So I never initiated trash talk because the odds were that like whoever I was shit talking would end up roasting me and making me look like an idiot, right?
Yeah.
So like when Deuce was really bringing it kind of hard, I thought for practice, and that's good because I think that like one of the themes that we have seen here, not only over this training camp but in since this group of coaches has arrived in Detroit, is this kind of idea that like I've always thought teams stopped trying to make people better when it came just to the players. And what I have seen now with Detroit, which I don't know that I can readily point to another example of this since I've been paying attention to sports. It's probably happened dozens of times, but the idea that everyone needs to get better all the time up and down the organization seems to be a very real living philosophy amongst these people. Like at the Senior Bowl, Dan Campbell didn't coach. It was Ben Johnson and it was Deuce Staley and it was it Aubrey Pleasant that was coaching the defense?
I don't remember, but it seems reasonable.
Everybody took a step up.
Yeah.
You know, everybody went into a role that they weren't used to occupying to get them better at, you know, what they were going to end up, you know, doing. And now here we go. We see Penei Sewell and Aiden Hutchinson just going at it in practice. We see Deuce Staley and Aaron Glenn just going at it in practice. You know, like it doesn't surprise me that these guys play hard. What I would say is surprising or refreshing is that I don't think this is just for cameras. I don't think this is just for, you know, I think this is who they are as people.
Yeah.
And who they want to be in their jobs. And like, I didn't really have a lot of experience with Deuce Staley as I knew he was a player, but I had never really seen like much of him as far as him giving interviews or that kind of thing. That guy's hilarious.
Yeah.
Like that guy seems like he's having just a blast all the time, you know? So I really took to Coach Staley. I thought he was fun, but my number two thing to come out of this was Malcolm Rodriguez.
Dancing?
Oh God. So like I think I'm really going to gravitate to this year's defensive draft picks. I think that like the Detroit Tigers had for years when they were really riding high, like who's your Tiger and like the player that you identified with on the team, right? And you wear that guy's jersey and like there would be like bobblehead nights for those people. And like I really feel myself rooting for Hutchinson and Rodriguez. I loved it when they were going through and asking everybody like, what does training camp mean to you? And then it's Rodriguez and he's like, I get to hit somebody.
Yeah.
And then he does the salsa dance thing. And I'm just like, this is someone I really want to see succeed on this team in like a meaningful way. Cause I really like him. I think he's I think he's an interesting player, and I think that he's a hard worker, and I like the attitude quite a bit. So
yeah. But to your comment about the team, not just the players improving, but the coaches and stuff like that. One of the things, and I think to your point is you don't hear about that kind of stuff a lot, but I think it has to be happening. Even in any organization, you're trying to grow not just the quote unquote worker bees, but everybody, right? We want the people on the line. We want the people supervising those people on the line. We want the middle managers. We want, like, everybody should be growing their skill set, whether it's leadership or technical or whatever, right? And the first time I really saw that in the football was when I was reading about Coach McVay for the Rams. Mm-hmm. And it kind of blew my mind, because what he does is he actually has someone recording his team meetings before the game, or before the game, after the game, in the locker room, all that kind of stuff. And he will go back and watch tape of himself. Did I give them the right message? Did I have the positivity that I wanted? Did I get it across well? And Andrew Whitworth told this story about how he walked in on Coach watching film of himself. And I'm just like, that blew my mind. Mm-hmm. So now I'm thinking to myself, do I need to record the team meetings that I run with my team and watch how I interact with my engineers and that kind of stuff? Because I want to get better. I do a lot of leadership and other PD, but professional development, but I've never really watched myself with my team, and maybe I should, because those are the kind of things that it never dawned on me that coaches would watch film of themselves coaching and interacting with teams, their players and stuff. So that doesn't really surprise me that we're seeing that same kind of growth with the Lions, because I think it is the NFL is like no different than any other organization. Mm-hmm. You want to grow everybody. So, right. What did you think about Hutchinson getting laid out by
TJ Hawkinson?
Yeah.
So TJ Hawkinson is not as big as Aiden Hutchinson. So like when I saw that, I was like, oh shit, like what happened here? And like, so then they cut to Campbell, and he's just like, he says something like, I'll bet he didn't see much of that in college, and like, TJ's just helping him out there, and like,
welcome to the NFL,
like he's probably got his mind, like Campbell said something to the effect of, Hutchinson probably has his mind on like getting his best get off and like going through what he wants to have happen, like with his hands and how he's going to attack the offensive lineman. And he's not paying any mind to the other people who are out there on the field who could affect him, and he said something like, he's got to learn. And that's a good lesson for him. And like, he'll be thinking about it next time. He picks stuff up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And, that might be a good way to segue into the first preseason game, because it does, from everything that we've seen and heard so far, Aiden Hutchinson does seem to be picking up things pretty quickly. And my favorite play from the preseason game is when he absolutely clowned the Falcons left tackle Jake Matthews, who then bit on air and then face planted into the ground. Yep. As Aiden Hutchinson proceeded to ignore the running back and that was trying to block him and just tackle the ball carrier for a loss. That was really fun to see. Like that gives you like that
inside swim move, walked right by the tackle and then got him for like a 4-yard.
It was crazy. So Hutchinson only played 11 snaps in the preseason game and had a tackle for loss. He had a couple tackles, affected the quarterback on another play. I don't know if they counted that as a pressure or not.
It counted as a tackle, right?
Okay.
He pushed him out of bounds or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was chasing down Mariota. And like, so in like the 11 plays that he had, he was in the backfield on 3 of them that I counted. And otherwise, basically just, going along, like doing the job. So I saw on Twitter that PFF had scored his in-game performance for the 11 snaps that he played as an 88 overall, which is extremely high.
Yeah.
So it was good to see. Like, so far, there hasn't been anything about Hutchinson since the draft that makes me think they made the wrong choice.
Yeah. I mean, it's early, right? It's preseason game 1 and everything else, but no, I mean, he definitely looks like the real deal. Even in Hard Knocks, when they kind of had a little around the coach's room, this guy's everything that this guy's going to be everything that we think, right? And to a man, they're like, oh yeah.
Yeah, it's nice when you see the kind of, like, so I've followed the draft now for 15 or 20 years, and you don't always get the kind of consensus on a player that you're at least hearing about with Aiden Hutchinson. So it's nice to see that the coaching staff and the front office seem to be on the front page.
Yeah.
At least in his case, hopefully with the other players that they drafted as well. I wanted to talk about Jared Goff because what I saw was really encouraging. In the one drive that he was in, apparently he went to Dan Campbell, who wasn't going to play him.
Yeah, he wasn't going to start at all.
Which I would have been fine with, to be honest. Like, the worst thing that could have happened is like what happened to the New York Jets in their first preseason game. Like, Zach Wilson's in on the first series. He's running, wasn't even hit.
No, just trying to take a cut.
Just trying to cut, and like he has a partially torn meniscus and something else happened in his knee, and he's out for a month, right? So that he's going to miss
possibly more.
They're going to scope his knee on Monday, I heard.
Yep.
So,
yep.
So if he's out, let's say he's out for 1 month, he misses the first 2 games of the season.
Yep.
The Jets can't. How did this show? Hey, Funky. How did this show happen? I just wanted to talk about the preseason game. I watched it, so I talked Mike into jumping on after he got done with dinner. So I'm glad you could make it, man.
Yeah, thanks for joining. Yeah.
So he went to Dan Campbell and said, "No, I want to play." And so, like, I am not a Goff believer, but that's an encouraging sign for me. Like,
do you know why he wanted to play?
I assume because his profession is to play football.
No, he was fine sitting out until he found out that the entire starting offensive line unit was going to play. He said, "If they're playing, I'm playing."
Okay, great.
Yeah, so I mean, that's another way that you can kind of like Hutch did with his dancing and singing. I mean, that's the kind of thing that you can do to endear yourself and get people to follow you. Is to, hey, like Campbell in practice.
Yeah, doing the up downs.
Right, he's doing it with the guys.
Yeah, if I had to do 30 up downs right now, I would throw up. Right, so
God,
I'm in terrible shape.
At his age, he's a big dude, and he's still doing that.
For his age, at his size, that guy is in phenomenal shape.
Yeah, and he had hurt his wrist because he had fallen in his house and sprained his wrist or whatever. But he's like, I can't not do this, and that's how you get guys to run through a wall for you. And I think Goff did the same thing by saying, if they're starting, I'm starting. That's my crew.
Yeah. Did Jamal Williams cut his hair? Because I remember watching the preseason game, and I didn't see any dreads sticking out of the back of his helmet.
I don't remember. I'll have to pay more attention.
Okay, because I might be getting him confused with Corey Reynolds, but I'm pretty sure I would put money on it right now that he cut his hair between Hard Knocks episode 1. Anthony, it is 3:00 in the morning. What is it? No, it's 1:00 in the morning, man. What are you doing? What are you doing? Oh, he's not winning me over, but I can be objective as to like the way that he is with the team and like his performance. And I'm going to say some other nice things about him in just a second.
So on that though, it's a quick segue because we kind of started with Hard Knocks and the hair cutting thing. Mm-hmm. What I thought was really cool was, and I don't remember which coach it was, but he's like, was going to cut his hair, his dreads. And he's like, I want to be this guy that you want me to be.
Kelvin Shepherd.
Like, I swear to God, if you cut your hair, I'm going to, you're gone. Yeah. Like, I want you. I don't want you to be the guy that you think I want you to be. Like, I want you to be you. And I told him, do not cut your hair, which I thought was cool. I mean, That I mean, those are the kind of things that, as a leader, you get people to follow you.
Yeah. So I want to say some nice things about Jared Goff because I haven't said very many nice things. So this is my impression.
Being recorded, remember, Drew?
Yeah, no, I'm fine. Anything that I say goes on the record. I'll live with it. So this is my impression of Jared Goff in 2021. Goes back to pass. He's looking downfield, check down, right? And he did that all the time, the whole season, right? That's how you get like a 6.6 average depth of target, right?
Yep.
Here's what I saw in the one drive that he did in the preseason game. He had a pass that went for like 9 or 10 yards right over the middle to, I believe it was Brock Wright. It was Brock Wright, tight end, backup tight end. And then the one play that really provided me some hope that Jared Goff is going to have a better season this upcoming season, he rolled out to his left and hit Amon-Ra St. Brown on this, like, I don't know what the routes are, but like this drag route across the middle of the field, lofted it over two guys, but once again, Sun God is in the perfect spot on the field, and he just floated that shit right into the perfect spot. But it was like a 15-yard pass, or what have you. And like, if the Detroit Lions are going to beat teams with their effort and like being able to, they have to like take their game up a notch. This is how Jared Goff does it. I will live with him throwing like an 8-yard hook to a tight end in the middle of the field, or if he can get out on a bootleg and loft a pass like that to Sun God. I am loving that because that forces a defense to at least take a step back and say, we can't just crowd the line. We can't just stack against you guys anymore. We're going to have to respect this. And like, did DJ Chark play in the preseason game? I don't believe so.
I don't think he did. If he did, he didn't make a play.
Yeah. And so I know that Hawkinson did not play.
Yeah.
But I did think it was interesting that it was Brock Wright and then Garrett Gilbert came in, and then it was Shane Zielstruck that came in for the tight ends. So that, if that is indicative at all of the depth chart for that position, I'm very pro that depth chart. So I think I was very happy with the way that Swift and Williams ran the ball.
So I got to ask you, Dr. Williams, you've been on record saying that you would cut Williams.
Yeah.
With his just passionate speech during Hard Knocks, moved to tears about how much he cares about, the team and getting better and blah, blah, blah. And, that record, all that kind of stuff. And he's played well. Like, would you go, you know what, to save $1 million, we might as well keep him because these guys follow this man.
So it's almost $3 million. And, if I might say yes, if like Jamar Jefferson had done something big, even against like the backups or the third stringers, something like that, I would have to say probably right now, no, I would keep him just because I don't think there's another running back that's distinguishing themselves in any way on the roster.
We're spending that money on this year anyway. That's kind of it's like, sure, we could save $3 million and do what? Nothing that's going to help us this year.
Well, we don't know that. So like
sure.
My point for like saving that money was you don't know what the year is going to look like in advance, right? So what happens if ... player X gets injured? Can you go out and sign an average level replacement for that guy, even if he's a depth piece? So they have just under $10 million in cap space right now heading into week 2 of the preseason. That's my only point, is that I would prefer the team to be as flexible as possible in their rebuilding years. Like, I respect Jamal Williams' passion. And like, I feel that if it comes to simply running the ball, he's probably superior to DeAndre Swift. Swift is clearly the better pass catcher.
Yeah.
Between the two of them. And like, to be honest, I would rather have the pass catcher in the football game because no. Oh, you're kidding? I was going to go insane. I am so goddamn tired of having to tell people that getting Roquan Smith might be an excellent short-term investment. It is a horrendous long-term one.
Yeah.
You know, I'm so sick of that conversation. And I cannot believe what
if it was 2 years from now and we're 2 years older and closer to being Super Bowl relevant, then maybe, right? Because essentially, you know, a missing piece or whatever, but we're just not there yet.
Right, exactly. You're like, so like over on Luke G's channel, like he said that the Lions had been tied to, or what, you know, considered for a destination for Roquan Smith, and I'm thinking there's probably 31 other teams that like have been considered for a destination for Roquan Smith because he doesn't want to be in one of the NFL franchises right now, right? But like the teams that I would think would be interested in Roquan Smith are teams that are one player away, maybe, and on his current deal. So like San Diego is the place that I think would be perfect for Roquan Smith to go.
Los Angeles Chargers.
God damn it. Yeah. I do that all the time. I keep calling the Rams from St. Louis, and I keep saying the Chargers are from San Diego. Oh, yes. The Los Angeles Chargers, I think, should give up a couple of mid-round picks to bring in Roquan Smith like the Los Angeles Rams did to bring in Von Miller last year, and then let Roquan Smith walk and recoup some of that capital by getting a compensatory draft pick. So that seems like a very, like, you get a rebate on Roquan. Someone's going to sign him to a 17, 18, 19 million dollar a year contract, and that's going to net you. You know, I made the same argument for Baker Mayfield, right? Like, Cleveland ate a bunch of his salary, and it was like a 5th round pick or 6th round pick that's probably going to become a 5th round pick or something like that. And, you know, and then if you let that guy walk, there's going to be some desperate team in free agency that's going to sign him for $20-25 million. And like, you're gonna net positive compensatory value.
So I know I know I interrupted you on your upcoming praise of Goff.
Sure.
But I want to tie one more thing back to Hard Knocks. And the beginning of our episode, you talked about Malcolm Rodriguez and really wanting him to, you know, step up and be that guy and be successful. He played great. He had a phenomenal special teams play to start the game. Our kickoff to them, he went down there and tore him up. That was great.
One of the plays that I really liked from the Hard Knocks game was when they brought in Boyle, and there was a offsides, and he took a shot to Raymond down the field. Yeah, and really nice pass, right in stride. Raymond caught it, big gain, exactly how that play should have gone. I'm gonna kick this back to the chat really quick. So, he is not in our timeline, Anthony. So, and the reason why is because the Lions have the 5th easiest schedule this year, and that's a trap. It's a trap schedule. They're going to win more games this year than the talent on the roster is reflective of. A linebacker is simply not a needle mover when it comes to whether or not a team in the state that the Detroit Lions are in are going to ascend to the next level of a competent winning NFL franchise. And like I'm sure we've all heard the term like buy low, sell high. If you're the Detroit Lions right now, you are buying high on Roquan Smith. So like, tell me which player you want to give up on the current roster to get Roquan Smith. Is it TJ Hawkinson? Do you not want to re-sign DeAndre Swift? Who knows? But like that $20 million, that $19 million or whatever it's going to be per year is not going to go to someone else that's currently on the team if you bring him in.
Yeah.
So like, as far as I am concerned, he has to be good enough to warrant bringing him in and replacing the guy whose money he's going to end up taking.
Because you're not gonna bring him in for how much does he have left on his contract? 1 year?
Yeah,
2?
and so he is going to get something like the top 2 off-ball linebacker contracts currently in the NFL are Shaquille Leonard from Indianapolis and Fred Warner from San Francisco, and they are both right around $19+ million a year. If you want him, you're going to have to give him $20 million a year. And I do not care that he's 25. Like, all that means to me is that he is primed for his second contract, which means this is the most expensive that he will ever be. And so, like, I'm not saying that he is a bad player. I'm not saying that he wouldn't help the Detroit Lions. I am saying that he is a poor investment because of his positional value and where the Lions are in their rebuild currently. And I don't want to give someone a 5-year, $100 million contract to upgrade one linebacker spot when this team is, quote unquote, going to be fighting for a playoff spot this year with the 5th easiest schedule in the league. And if they get the 16th most difficult schedule, or right in the middle or whatever, the year after that, you're probably going to regress in wins. So yeah, I would rather give Chris Board, Malcolm Rodriguez a chance, who cost nothing, to see if they can be 75% of Roquan Smith or whatever. And if that's the case, that's a win.
So I think in kind of a teaser to Tuesday's episode, we're going to have Eric Eager, the VP of R&D at Pro Football Focus, PFF, on the show with us. And I think this would be a good question for him when we kind of get it. We'll talk a little about what they do and how they do things. But as we kind of start talking about the Lions, this could be one of those interesting questions from him as an analytics expert. What do we think, right? Would he be a good fit, and why?
I mean, he's probably,
or why not?
So like he's probably a good fit for almost any team in the NFL, right? Like his natural talent. Like, so like when I hear you say fit, like what I mean, like what I hear is like the entire situation.
Yeah. Contract, so like, fit, as well as, age, contract, and where we're at with the rest of the team.
Yeah. I mean, like the team that should trade for Roquan Smith is the team that is in the middle of their championship window right now, and who is going to have the funds available to sign him long term. Or it's just a rental, like we've seen like the Rams do. It's not a team that's like, we need Roquan Smith in order to ascend to the next level of what it means to be a winning NFL franchise.
Yeah. And for the Bears, this is a perfect opportunity to get rid of him and get some capital, right?
Yeah.
Because he's not in their timeline for sure.
Absolutely. Like they are still descending in their roster construction. So like if I was the trades that I have seen floated for Roquan Smith from like, let's call it like Detroit-based media, like Micro Mike and some other podcasts and maybe even some like beat writers and that kind of thing. Micro Mike thought I think it was like a 2nd round pick and Quentin Cephas would get him here. And I'm like, okay, so that's not a lot.
Right.
I still don't want to give up a 2nd round pick to sign a linebacker for $20 million a year. Like the salary cap matters. Like how you spend your money in the NFL matters. So like what positions you invest in matter, and so like, go ahead.
I'll say if you could pull off a trade like that, Quintez Cephas, 2nd round pick, contingent on a contract signing of $16 million. If he would let us re-sign him for $16 million for 5 years, and we give up a 2nd in Quintez Cephas, would you do it?
No, I would not. So the principle of it is that you should not be spending heavily, which I would still consider that $16 million a year to be quote unquote spending heavily on that position. You should be, what we have seen from like what our podcast has put out is that like positional value wise, linebacker might be the second least valuable position in the NFL behind only ahead of running back. What we have seen is that NFL defenses have shifted to formations that eliminate running or like linebackers being on the field. So right there, you are increasing the supply of linebackers available in the NFL and their demand is going down. So the cost should decrease. So like just like what we did with safeties on this team, like I like what we have done with safeties. Like people will say that we haven't addressed that position. Well, you re-signed Tracy Walker, you signed Deshaun Elliott, you drafted Kirby Joseph, and you drafted Ifeatu Melifonwu, right? So like that is 4 guys that you are dedicating to that position. Like give Kirby Joseph and Melifonwu a chance to have a year or 2 under their belt to see if one of them can be a starter. Give Malcolm Rodriguez a chance to see if he can be a starting level linebacker. Give Derek Barnes an opportunity to see if he can develop into a starting level linebacker, because if one of those guys hits, it's 4 years at $5 million for the entire thing, as opposed to, I would so much rather pay $1.25 million a year than 16. Yeah.
Sure.
So like,
the reason I ask, and I specifically, talk about how it's, contingent on a 16 mil average contract for 5 years is, when Stafford was signed, he had the biggest quarterback contract in history at the time. And then 2-3 years later, now he was the 14th highest paid. It was market setting at the time, but because of the length and everything else and how much and all the other good ones that were coming up after him, it ended up being kind of a steal, to be honest. So if we were to be able to get him for essentially a depth wide receiver that, frankly, Quintez Cephus has not impressed me, even in the regular season the last couple of years or whatever, I would be fine cutting him. So like if they want to take Quintez Cephus in a second, and we get this guy for 5 years, basically ages 25 through 29 at $16 million. Boy, when he's 27, 28 years old, years 3-4, that's going to be a steal of a contract. So that's why I bring that up.
So the pushback that I would have there is that let's say you sign it. Let's say you make that trade number 2 in Cephus for Roquan Smith, and you sign him to a 4-year, 5-year, $16 million a year extension, right?
Yeah.
So it's like 80 million, 64 million, something like that. And 2 years in, linebacker X, like maybe Patrick Queen from Baltimore and other linebacker, young linebacker I can't think of right now, sign bigger deals, right?
Yep.
Does it make that contract more palatable? Yeah, but like only in the sense that you're not paying at the top of the market ... any longer. Like my problem with it is not that like it's going like I don't care that Jared Goff has gone from like the 10th highest paid quarterback to like the 13th highest paid quarterback.
Right.
What I care about is that $31 million a year for what Jared Goff brings to the table is too much money. And $16 million a year for what Roquan Smith brings to the table is too much money. I would rather invest in linemen. I would rather invest in skill position players. I would rather invest in cornerbacks. So I would rather invest in the positions that have been shown to warrant high value second contracts. Now, so far, Detroit, what gives me hope, it's not irresponsible roster building management, Anthony, it's intelligent roster building management. So paying top dollar for the second least valuable position after you've made a trade to acquire that player is not only irresponsible in the sense that you're giving up assets so that you can then effectively waste money, you're also losing a depth piece in your wide receiving core, a draft pick that could be a Hall of Famer, you don't know, and like to do what? So that he fills a gap. Like that's just it. Like if this was a lockdown corner that could slow down Justin Jefferson, or if this was a complimentary pass rusher that gets Kirk Cousins flustered or sacks Aaron Rodgers, it's a different story. The problem is that this guy like is really good at his position, but like the position doesn't matter in the NFL as much as it did 5 years ago.
So how is his? And I don't know much about Roquan Smith, so I just kind of go off of what I read. How is he different from like Isaiah Simmons from the draft a couple years ago that we were both pretty high on? Because he was such a very flexible guy. Isn't Isaiah Simmons isn't he very similar to Isaiah Simmons, where he could drop back a little bit in coverage as well as fill the gaps and cover underneath in the tight ends? Or is he not quite as dynamic as Simmons?
Well, I think when Simmons came out, he was more of like a hybrid, like linebacker, safety kind of player. I don't know enough about the positions to really differentiate between the two of them. What I know about Roquan Smith is that he is your quintessential off-ball linebacker. Like he fits the definition of what you want a off-ball linebacker in the current NFL to be. Like, I'm not saying that he's a bad player.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not saying that he would not help the Detroit Lions. It's just that the cost that you pay to acquire that player at that position is simply too high. If you had drafted him, different story maybe.
Yeah.
But you didn't draft him. You're going to have to either trade for him, which is bad, and which the Lions, from what I can tell in season, have only done once with Trinity Benson, which did not work out. Or you're going to have to sign him in the offseason to a market-setting contract at his position, which this organization in the Lions have not done yet.
Yeah.
So, like, nothing about this situation makes, like, from what the Detroit Lions management has done, aligns.
Yeah.
Like, the stars do not align here for the Detroit Lions to acquire. Yeah, you're right. You're right, Anthony. They're not Hall of Famers yet, but any future pick could be one, right? So I don't want to give up my lottery ticket.
Past failures do not predict future failures.
Correct. So, like, I don't want to give up my lottery ticket or at least another competent starter on this team and during their rebuild, which is, let's remember, everybody, not done yet.
Yeah.
In order
to a 5-year rebuild, right?
Right. In order to bring in arguably the last piece that should be added to this team. Like, I understand, like, Anthony, like, he probably wants the Lions to be good right now. They're just not.
Right.
They're probably gonna have a better season than they otherwise should have. But if this team was going into this season with the 5th most difficult schedule, it's a whole different story. Right? Like, I expect to see improvement. I'm very hopeful that they improve, but they're only going to do so and not be the quote unquote same old Lions if they adjust their thinking to what's going on in the modern NFL and not, go all in on drafting a safety at 2 or trading for an off-ball linebacker that you then have to pay a ton of money to. Yeah. Those are terrible, terrible moves. And like, it's not that the players are terrible. It's that the investment for the resources that you're given by the NFL can either be like invested in higher upside positions and players, or saved and used in some other way and you try and get by with what you have, like the Malcolm Rodriguez that you have on the team or what have you. Yeah. So, like, not everybody on the Detroit Lions can be a $15 million a year player. You have to make choices as to where you're going to put your money. And, like, I'm sorry, but Roquan Smith is not even the best off-ball linebacker in the NFL. Yeah. So, like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to recommend on our podcast that the Lions should do that, because I genuinely think that it's a step in the wrong direction. Yeah. So it's like, I think, that they have made investment at the position, 4th round pick and a 6th round pick. You don't know how those guys are doing yet. Like, clearly they are in the player developmental stage. Like, we knew that the Detroit Lions we're going to draft players and develop them. And they have stuck by that for 2 seasons now. Well, let's not get impatient just because, like, the only reason everybody is all like gung-ho to go right now is the league gifted this easy schedule to the Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
This is random. Like, you're going to have a better season than this team deserves to have this season because you get to play the Panthers and the Seahawks and the Bears twice and the Commanders and all these other shit teams that are just at the bottom of their rebuilding efforts. And you get to, quote unquote, beat up on them, assuming that everybody on the team is healthy. Yeah. And that you get to like trot out the best of what you have. You know, this is still not a team that's like, oh, if player X goes down, we just have a dude that can step up and just replace him. Nope. You're still building towards that. So let's continue to build. And one of the ways that you can continue to build, I mean, I would rather have 4 depth pieces at $5 million a piece than Roquan Smith, just because this team is so bad.
Yeah.
You know, and like this, we are going to be talking to Eric Eager this coming Tuesday, but like I was all ready to go with a request from One Pride to discuss like how I think that we should rebuild the secondary. Because I don't think that the cornerbacks on this team are doing us any favors. You know, like
interesting. Okuda's been hurt, so I mean, if he can step up and play like the number 3 overall draft pick he was, that will be that'll be a game changer for our secondary.
It would be a game changer.
So I think this is the year that those young guys have to put up or shut up.
I agree, because like after this season, if Jeff Okuda does not play like the number 3 pick, you're not going to pick up his 5th-year option,
right?
You know, and he's like the 4th highest paid player on the team. You know, I mean, like after the season, you're going to have to decide whether or not you want to sign Amani Araraway. You know, and like if I'm Amani Araraway, I'd be looking at the contract that Darius Leonard got from the Jaguars and being like, I want that money, like $11 million a year. And like, okay, like Araraway's fine, and he had his best season. Yeah, I saw that. I gave Matt some shit on Discord because I was so jealous that like I was like, oh, I landed this whale, and then like Matt's like, yeah, I got Monson. He's like the head of the entire thing. So yeah, you guys scooped us. So
that PFF is like balling out for the us Lions folks, right? That's awesome.
I mean, like if you look around different media sources, right? Like you have a number of different media sources, ESPN, PFF, like just, you know, sports journalists in general. I haven't seen anybody who's unhappy with the direction the Detroit Lions are going. Keep going in that direction then. Like if everybody is like doing a good job, we're pretty high in what you're doing, these moves seem solid, there seems like a lot of hope, like you're trending upwards, keep doing that.
Yeah.
Like, let's not put all of our chips in the middle right now. Like, if you just keep making solid decisions and incremental progress, like we have said this on the podcast before, like, I don't care at all about winning 9 games this season. I want to win a fucking Super Bowl.
Right.
You know, like, give me a team like the Bills are right now, where they have like a Super Bowl window and they have the capability of going into any season and getting to a Super Bowl. Like, that's the team I want. Yep. I don't want a team that's relying upon getting the 5th easiest schedule in order to have a winning season. Sorry. So I'm not in on, like, I have said before, I'd be stoked about 6 wins because that's 3 more wins than we had last year. That's good progress. I don't want anybody to get hurt.
Yep.
You know, so like,
so let's get. I kind of sidetracked us. Kind of started off with Malcolm Rodriguez and
son of a bitch.
Big play. I know. I'm the worst kind of person. But let me get us back on track because you were going to, on the record, say some good things about Goff.
So Goff had 2 good passes that I really enjoyed. It was the like hook over the middle to Brock Wright, and it was the bootleg rollout to Sun God that went for like 15. Like Jared Goff, I think, is going to have a better season than he did last year. And I think that he's going to do that for a number of reasons. Number one, he's simply been in the system. Like I don't agree with these people that say that rookies and like first-year free agents have to come in and perform as if they have been here for year after year after year. Like rookies have to have the game slow down. Free agents have to learn the playbook. Everybody has to gel together and that kind of thing. So Jared Goff's year 2 here, he should have A, better command of the offense. B, I think that I think that his receiving core is infinitely better than it was last year. I did see that Kadarius Hodge, who was on the Lions last year, is out there playing for the Falcons, led them in receiving, I think, in that game. But the thing about this year's wide receiver core is twofold. A, they have better talent. DJ Chark is a better talent than we had on the team last year.
Yeah.
You know what your depth is. That depth is going to be when everybody is healthy, that depth is going to be Chark, Williams, Sun God. And then the backups are going to be something like Reynolds, Cephas, Benson. If they keep, and they probably keep 6. And so if Hawkinson's healthy, if DeAndre Swift is healthy, then you have 5 reliable pass catchers on every play. He did not have that last year. The line is healthy. You're going into the season with Decker, Ragnow, Sewell, all playing, hopefully, all healthy, right? If that's the case, Jared, I am so tired of seeing Jared Goff trying to pirouette out of a defensive end trying to tackle him. He's just not agile enough, right? Yeah. So Decker, Ragnow, Sewell, all being there is going to give him that half a second more time that he might need to actually step into a throw. Because if he cannot step into a throw, he cannot throw a pretty ball.
Yeah.
And if you're going to push the ball down the field, which he absolutely must do this season, you're going to have to step into some balls, you know? And I just think that there is a chance, once again, with health, that, the most important player on this team, who is Jared Goff, can take a step forward. And when he takes a step forward, the rest of the team will take a step forward.
Yeah. I want to talk a couple comments. Funky said the problem with the free agent argument is Stafford did just fine in a brand new scheme. I want to talk a little bit about that because there's only been 2 quarterbacks in the history of the NFL that went to a new team and won the Super Bowl their first year. One is Tom Brady and one is Matthew Stafford. Mm-hmm. Just to say, Stafford did it is, he was the second person ever to do this. Moving from one team to another is not an easy thing to do. Right. Now, Stafford, one of the reasons I think he did so well with that is A, he had a better team around him. He had healthy people. But B, he had already essentially had 3 different – he had in 12 years, he had something like 7 different offensive coordinators or something. Yeah. And he learned 4 new playbooks during his time there. It makes it easy to transition to a 5th one, right?
Well, let's just say he's had some experience having to do that, right?
Exactly. So right. It's tough to say, well, Stafford did fine in LA. Well, yeah, he's used to learning new playbooks as coordinators change and everything else, or head coaches get fired. Tom Brady, arguably he is inarguably the most successful quarterback of all time, and depending on how you want to decide who's the best of all time, he's got to be in the top 3 or 4, right? No matter how you want to look at it, it's him, Peyton Manning, Dan Marino, and Joe Montana are probably the 4 people that you can argue as the best of all time. Those kind of guys can adjust, right? And they had a stacked team in Tampa Bay too. Yeah. And then kind of the other thing that Funky mentioned, Hodge caught a pass against Okudah tackled. I thought Okudah did well. There was probably one play I thought he wanted back, and it might be the Hodge reception. But he came up and tackled at the line of scrimmage a couple times. A couple running backs. He held the edge pretty well. I thought Okudah played really, really well. And the person that really surprised me was Tom Kennedy. And I really think that wide receiver, he is playing himself off of the bubble, I think. If he could put another game or 2 like that together, I think he makes the squad.
Okay. That'll be something to watch because we're going to start seeing cuts.
Yep.
Yeah, so we will see. This is what I've heard about Kennedy, is that he's the kind of So you know how like baseball teams have farm systems like AAA, AA, whatever.
Yeah.
Like I've heard that like of some players being described as a 4A player, like you're too good for the preseason or whatever, or like AAA ball,
Right.
but you're not quite good enough to be in the show, right? So like, yeah, and like what Funky just said, like he look good every preseason? Yeah, I think that he's probably, unfortunately for him, right on the cusp of being almost good enough to be in the NFL. You know, and so like the other thing that I think we haven't really talked about, which I don't really want to get into tonight because we're going to probably keep this to around an hour, is that there's going to be a bunch of cuts from other rosters.
Yeah.
You know, and so like we don't know who's going to get cut off of the other 31 rosters, but I would be surprised if the Lions didn't add a player or two that ended up making the final 53-man roster who are currently on another team.
Yeah.
You know, and so like I guess it's possible that they just stick with the guys they have in house or whatever, but like I think that what's that?
Yeah, there'll be at least one that they're going to pick from somebody else, and I can't imagine any team isn't going to be like, well, we're not even looking at the other 31, or we're so good that we can't possibly find, a depth player from a different team. So we'll end up with at least one.
Yeah, and this is, the cut down is just another opportunity for the Detroit Lions to try and find a guy that might fit their culture, who does something that they need, them to do, whether it's a linebacker or like another depth piece or something, that they're going to be able to give an opportunity to, for not a lot of money, and like this is where the Detroit Lions need to win on the margins to make up the difference that is currently the stark contrast in talent level between them and most of the other teams in the NFL. So like once we've said like blue chip talent combined with blue collar work ethic should win you a lot of NFL games. Well, I think they've got the work ethic part established. So let's work on the talent part, right? So and the cheaper that you can acquire that talent, the better it is overall, right? So I'd be looking for, I don't think that players like Devin Funchess or Tom Kennedy are going to make the roster. I think that they'll be around threatening to make the roster, but I don't think that there's, much chance. If they, there was some rumors a couple of weeks ago that Dallas might be interested in Quentin Cephas, right? And like, if you could get a mid-round pick for Quentin Cephas, 4th or 5th round pick for Quentin Cephas, and whatever, there's your Tom Kennedy or Khalil Pimpleton spot, like there's your guy. Like, I don't mind acquiring some late round picks, maintaining the depth and giving another, like the last guy at the position group, a chance to, prove that he's on the team. I don't care about that. Like, that's fine. Like, I know people are going to watch Hard Knocks. They're going to fall in love with the players. But like, I don't feel that way about players. Like, there's one player I feel that way about, and his name's Aiden Hutchinson, and he went to Michigan.
Right.
So like that dude, I am loyal to forever, unless he does something horrific, like in his personal life to another human being, solely because he fucking balled out and beat Ohio State. Like, that is what I care about. Like, that has won me over, and he now, thankfully, plays for the team that I get to watch the most in the NFL. I'm super excited about Aiden Hutchinson. So, and like, I loved what I saw, to be honest, in the first preseason game. Now, hopefully we get like 2 series out of them next Friday or next Sunday or whenever they're going to play, and maybe we get to see some more. But the only thing I give a shit about, he was a Wolverine, but he's no good. So like,
Funchess, yeah.
And I don't think that he beat Ohio State. So that goes a long way. The other thing is we're going to start to see cuts. I am praying that we can get out of the preseason with no meaningful injuries. Like, if you want to sprain an ankle and miss a week or two, that's one thing. I don't want to hear the term strain, sprain, or tear, right? So like, we cannot afford to go into this season with like Taylor Decker getting hurt again, Jared Goff getting hurt, or Frank Ragnow. These are essential players that if they are not out there, we might as well be talking about draft position, because it's not going to work without them. Like Evan Brown was fine. Like he stepped in and played fine for Ragnow. Like as far as I'm concerned, he should have earned a starting spot this year. Right. But like, I think that it's looking up. I liked what I saw in the preseason game in the first series for the offense and the defense. No one got hurt. I'm a happy camper. Can't wait for the next episode of Hard Knocks. Don't trade for Roquan Smith. Terrible investment. Please stop bringing it up.
That is about time, Drew.
Yep.
So let's tease Tuesday again. Eric Eager, VP of R&D at PFF, will be our guest. So I'm super pumped to talk about that. If you have any questions, comments, anything that you want us to ask Eric, shoot us an email at casualgmpodcast@gmail.com. Throw us a message or a comment on the channel. There's lots of ways to get with us, but like, comment, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. We get 50 subscriptions. Drewster is going to get a new Lions hat.
I will get, if we hit 50 subscribers, I think we hit 27 today.
Right on.
I will get a Detroit Lions hat, which I will wear on the podcast every week. So,
yep. And I think what we'll do is we'll maybe pick 3, and then let the subscribers kind of vote which one. What do you think?
We'll see about that. I mean, I'm going to have to wear it. So I mean,
you'll be able to pick the 3, right? So that at least no matter what you choose, you'll find something that you'll wear. But I mean,
we should involve the participants in some meaningful way. Yes, I agree. So
right on. Hey Dan, you made it a little late, buddy, but we appreciate you.
Yeah,
Anthony, get some sleep, buddy. It's got to be.
I don't understand him. Like I mean, it's 2 a.m. there. Like I don't know how old he is, but like I turned 40 last month, and if I had to stay up until 2 a.m., I would feel like death.
You know what? Just smile and nod, Drew. Just smile and nod.
I don't get it. It's baffling to me. So, Dan, good to see you, buddy. I wish you had caught us at the beginning. It was kind of an impromptu thing, but yeah, think of this as a gift for something for you to watch. I'm convinced that Dan's job is that he goes around to every publication known to man, just hitting keyword Detroit Lions, and then just tags them for the Facebook group.
Yeah, I love it though. That's
it's
where
like,
I get a lot of my content.
Like 6-7 posts a day. It's ridiculous. So, but yeah, that's our podcast for tonight. Check us out this coming Tuesday at 7 Eastern. I can't say. I'm going to go to bed right after this. So check us out this coming Tuesday, 7:00 Eastern, where we're going to have Eric Eager from PFF. I'm trying to write intelligent sounding questions. So hopefully you guys will enjoy it and get a better understanding of football analytics. I know that's what I'm hoping to take away from this. And I'm also going to ask him some questions about placing the odd bet or two, as he is quite the gambling aficionado on football. So maybe we can figure out a way to make some money off of the good old Detroit Lions this year. So even if they break our hearts, well, our wallets will be fuller. So
right. I like it.
Yeah.
All right, guys. We'll see you Tuesday.
See you guys.
All right. Bye.